What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here, and we are on to week 5 of the NFL season. So what we're doing in this video, I'm giving you 3 early NFL week 5 bets for you guys to lock in. It's one of my favorite things to do over the course of an NFL season. I wake up Monday morning, I try to find what teams I either know I want to back or I know I want to fade, and then I just line shop across the league, see if we can find a situation where we are picking off some stale lines, which is what we're hoping to do in this video. Get plays that are going to end up being positive CLV, meaning we're going to get a better line now than as the week goes on, and that's what we're doing in this video. So again, 3 bets for you guys to lock in. As for how week 4 went, now we still have a couple plays pending Monday Night Football. So, and I'm recording this before Monday Night Football starts, so I don't have a full week 4 recap for you guys, but I can give you everything up until the Monday Night Football game. Now, we're waiting on Seattle tonight. For those of you that are watching this after the fact, you already know how that game went, but I picked Seattle to win. I picked them on the spread, and I picked them straight up. So right now we're looking at that in terms of our early bets and our underdogs as well. And then as for the player props, it's been a decent week so far. We were a little bit profitable on Thursday night. We were a little bit profitable yesterday on Sunday. Hoping to make some profit once again today. Been a pretty decent week overall, though. We'll take it. As for the entire season, it's been a decent season to start as well. It's not as good as I would have hoped. It's also not terrible. We are in the green on these early bets. Granted, slightly. We're up 0.75 units, but hey, we'll take making money. And then as for our underdogs, unfortunately, we are in the red there. We're 0-1 on our underdogs for week 4, and then we're in the red on the season. I was on the Rams yesterday. They unfortunately did not win. But we are in the green on the player props, and I play player props the heaviest. That's a tongue twister. So I'm happy that we're in the green on the player props on the season. Hopefully we can keep that going, and that'll be our biggest profit. That's the hope. That's enough of that. You guys are here for the bangers, not for the past. So let's talk about what we got going on in week 5. Play number 1, and this is actually the Sunday Night Football game, but I just talk about these in terms of the worst odds to the best odds, so I go by as it gets juicier. And we're taking the Steelers -1.5 against the Cowboys. I got this at -112 at FanDuel. Hopefully you guys are able to still get this price at FanDuel when you are locking it in. And this is a really good price when you line shop it. We're eating a little bit of juice at -112, but every other book has this at -2 or -2.5 in favor of the Steelers. We are getting a slight value at the 1.5. And I knew I wanted to back the Steelers, and I knew I wanted to fade the Cowboys heading into this week, so it kind of works out perfectly. You know, the Steelers, we finally had the letdown game that we were all expecting for the Steelers. They lost to the Colts, despite the fact that Anthony Richardson left that game early. They lost to Joe Flacco. You know, the first 3 weeks, we were waiting and waiting and waiting for the Steelers to lose. It finally happened. Now I feel as though we are getting a buy low opportunity going against a Cowboys team that's absolutely reeling. I mean, yeah, the Cowboys did win last week. They broke their 2-game losing streak. They lost to they beat the Giants, which is, and that in and of itself is not that impressive. They did not look that great doing so. Their defense let the Giants move the ball up and down the field while their offense could only manage 6 points in the second half, 20 points total. And they lost 2 absolutely massive pieces to that defense that was already struggling. Even with the guys that they had healthy, the Cowboys had a horrible rush defense. Even after a better week last week against the Giants, the worst rush defense in the NFL, according to DVOA. They were able to rush the passer decently well. Not anymore. Both Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are out for this game, and they're out for their foreseeable future. Really, all we're looking at is this game, and they're going to be out. That's terrible. That is a death sentence for an already struggling Cowboys defense that could not stop the run, that were at least able to rush the passer. Now it's hard to see them forming any sort of pass rush against the Steelers, and they already could not stop the run. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Steelers' offense is amazing. They're not by any means, but they haven't completely shot themselves in the foot, and that's kind of what we were waiting for with Justin Fields in this Steelers offense. We're waiting for them, mainly for Fields, to just have these backbreaking turnovers that he always has. Hasn't quite happened. Now, their defense had a little bit of a letdown last week against the Colts, but we're going to talk about them. Not concerned about the Steelers' defense. And looking at their offense, the Steelers, quietly, 9th best passing offense, according to DVOA. Justin Fields had a really slow first 2 weeks of the year where they scored a combined, I think 1 touchdown in the first 2 weeks combined. They've picked it up a little bit in the last 2 weeks. He had a decent statistical output last week. And then 2 weeks ago, again, kind of the same thing. He had been a pretty good game manager through the first 3-4 weeks of the season until they finally lost their first game last week. But I will admit that their ground game is not what I expect to just run all over the Cowboys, right? 22nd ranked rush offense according to DVOA. They've been very inefficient on the ground, but their defense has been very good. They haven't turned it over, and they've made enough big plays, and that's how they've been winning games. And you look at the Cowboys, part of the reason why they're struggling, their defense can't stop the run, their offense really has not gotten going. 19th ranked offense according to DVOA. And even those numbers are a little bit inflated you look at their scoring output and their yards against the Ravens in week 3, looks respectable. They had 6 points with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And we've seen teams that rack up a bunch of stats in garbage time doesn't necessarily equate to success week over week. So I almost don't even care that they put up a bunch of points in garbage time when the Ravens clearly let the gas off the pedal, because like I said, 6 points with 9 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. And then last week against the Giants defense that isn't that great, they only scored 20 points total, and they had 2 field goals in the second half. The reason why the Cowboys have been so good for so long, part of that reason is their offensive line. And their offensive line just is not the same this year. And because of that, they really haven't been able to run the ball. 25th ranked rushing grade, according to Fantasy Points. 25th adjusted yards before contact as well. And all that means, adjusted yards before contact, it just takes out QB kneels, takes out any play that doesn't involve like QB scrambles, wide receiver runs, stuff like that. Just looks at normal rushing attempts. How far does the running back get before they get contacted? 25th in adjusted yards per contact. 19th ranked rush offense according to DVOA. And in pass protection, 23rd ranked offensive line pass grade according to Fantasy Points. Looking at the Steelers, their defense has been phenomenal. 8th ranked defense according to DVOA, 4th best rushing defense specifically. Now their pass defense might take a little bit of a hit because Alex Highsmith was out for this pass game, and he was listed as not a 1-week injury, so he might be out for this next week as well. But Cowboys haven't been able to protect the quarterback, haven't been able to run the ball, haven't been able to stop the run, and now can't generate a pass rush. So this is more about fading the Cowboys and a little bit of a bounce back opportunity for the Steelers as well. That's play number 1. Play number 2, we are taking the 49ers -7. You can get them at -110 odds at Profit X. If you're unfamiliar, Profit X is a sweepstakes type of sportsbook, kind of like Fliff, but much, much, much more reliable than Fliff. And Profit X consistently has the best odds. So if you don't use them, highly recommend downloading them. I'm not getting paid by them. I don't have an agreement with them. Just trying to give you guys the best odds. If you don't use Profit X, this same bet, the 49ers -7 is best offered at -115 at Fanatics. Now, this is a game. Really, I didn't head into the week saying, oh, I have to back the 49ers and I have to back the Cardinals. Just looking at the spread here, the 49ers are going to win this game by double digits, in my opinion. And the Cardinals are a team that I'm just dying to fade this season. We'll gladly take if you can't get this at -7 and you have to take -7.5, I'd still put a unit on that bad boy. The issue with the Cardinals is their defense was always supposed to be bad. I'm cool with that. That's fine. They're projected to have a terrible defense heading into the year. That's come to fruition. 28th ranked defense according to DVOA. They had the 32nd ranked defense last year. That's fine. We knew their defense was going to stink. The problem is we were told that their offense was going to be great, that they were going to be a respectable team because their offense was going to be that good. 13th ranked offense according to DVOA. A lot of their metrics point that 13th ranked offense shouldn't even be that high. Just look at their output and what they've done this year through 4 games. Now, week 2, great game against the Rams. No notes, great game. Just totally blitzed the Rams off the gate. They had a really good game. That's fine. In week 1, you're going to see, well, they scored 28 points. That's pretty good. Well, not a really impressive 28 points. They only had 270 yards, 270 yards of total offense. Kyler Murray threw for 162 himself. In that game, they scored 11 points in the second half. That all came late in the fourth quarter when that game was basically over. So they got shut out the majority of that second half. And that's a theme you're going to see with the Cardinals. Week 3, pretty bad Lions defense. They only scored 13 points. And once again, were essentially shut out the entire second half. Their only points they scored in the second half, they scored 3 of them. So congrats on that field goal. Came with 3:48 left in the game when they were down by 10, just trying to make it a 1-score game. Could not even get that second score. They also had 270 yards of total offense in that game as well. Then last week against the Commanders, we went into last week saying the Commanders are a must-bet against defense. All 3 weeks, the Commanders' defense has just been horrific. Jamar Chase in week 3, Malik Neighbors in week 2, everybody on the Bucs in week 1. What do the Cardinals manage to do against that bad Commanders defense? They put up 14 points with the second touchdown coming at the end of the third quarter when they were already down 27-7. So they scored on their opening drive, did nothing for basically 2 straight quarters, and then scored when the game was already over at the end of the third quarter. Kyler Murray passed for 142 yards against that horrific defense. So this is all me saying the Cardinals are not an impressive team. Kyler Murray is not as good as we thought they were going to be. Marvin Harrison Jr. has had some splash plays, but if you just look at the entire 4-game sample size, not that impressive. And the 49ers look as though they're back, right? They had a bad loss in week 2 to the Vikings, who just might be the best team in NFL history. They lost a weird game to the Rams that they had no business losing in week 3. Week 4, they played a bad Patriots team. Yeah, Patriots are bad. So are the Cardinals. But they got everybody healthy. And more importantly, they dominated that game. That's what we've seen from the 49ers. They dominate the bad competition. They won that game 30-13. They they outgained the Patriots 430 yards to the Patriots only had 216. Just a complete and utter domination. And that's something that I think is going to happen once again in this game. You know, they got Deebo Samuel. They got George Kittle back. Obviously, they're not going to have Christian McCaffrey, but they can get by with Jordan Mason running the ball, and he's decent out of the backfield. Not as good as McCaffrey, but decent. And just look at like overall, again, 49ers, 6th best DVOA in the NFL, 7th best offense, 5th best defense. I think they're going to beat the piss out of the Cardinals. I'm taking them -7. If you want to get them -9.5 to win by 10 plus and get better odds, I wouldn't hate it. I'm just sticking with the main line play. That's play number 2. And before we get into our third play, I will say, if you're not already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Always appreciate it. People that hit that subscribe button helps me out a ton. And then, of course, if you could like and comment on this video, that also helps me out a ton. And I love reading through the comments, seeing what people have to say, what I got right, what I got wrong, what they like, all that stuff. I love reading through the comments and replying to as many as I can. So I just wanted to get that out there. Last play. Third and final pick, Bills money line, -104 at FanDuel. This I knew I wanted to be on. I knew after what I saw last night on Sunday Night Football, I wanted to be on the Bills, just a perfect bounce back opportunity. And we get to fade a Texans team that I'm really not that sold on, and that's tough for me to admit because the Texans were my Super Bowl pick heading into the year. And you're going to say, well, Matt, what's wrong with them? They're 3-1. We'll get into that. But the Bills, I knew I wanted to buy low on them after a gross performance on Sunday night against the Ravens. That's fine. That's exactly what happens in the NFL. We see weird stuff week over week. I like to bet kind of the opposite of what we've seen recently, and that means buying the Bills and fading the Texans. So the Texans, they played the 0-3 Jaguars yesterday. Jaguars, I don't know which one is right. And they did not get above 20 points until late in the fourth quarter. They needed a comeback victory to beat a Jags team that was left for dead, has been horrible this entire season. The Texans offense, I thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. Their Texans offense was supposed to come in, light up the scoreboard this season. Been very, very disappointed. And yeah, you're going to say they've suffered some injuries. Joe Mixon's been out the past couple weeks. Tank Dell was missing last week. Even in games in which they were healthy, it's not very impressive. 20th ranked offense according to DVOA. That's bad. 15th ranked passing offense is not what we expected, especially when they added Stephon Diggs. 21st ranked rushing offense, which is fine. Last year, this is the issue with the Texans. They beat up on the bad competition. That's what they did to the Colts in week 1. They put up a bunch of points. But when they play good competition, they're not nearly as good. There's a massive gap. They have the widest variance in terms of against above average defenses according to DVOA versus below average defenses according to DVOA. Look at what they did in weeks 2 and 3 against decent defenses. Week 2, they barely scored 19. They could not get the 20 points against the Bears in week 2. Disgusting offensive performance. Week 3, even worse. They got blown out, just totally dominated by the Vikings. And then even last week, against a bad Jaguars defense, they needed the last-minute touchdown drive to get over 20 points after not even getting to 20 points in each of weeks 2 and 3. So generally, the situation where you see teams that are just kind of eking out these unimpressive victories, that's going to come back to bite them. We see that happen time over time. The best example of that, and I know this as a fan, the Eagles last year, they were 10-1. They were fraudulent 10-1, and we all know what happened at the end of that year. I'm not saying that the Texans are going to start 10-1 and that they're going to have a terrible end to the season. I just don't think they're going to be able to eke out these victories the way they have been, because you see it all the time. Teams that teams that win these close games, that eventually that stuff comes back to bite them. And then the Bills, we thought they were the best team in the NFL through 3 weeks. Then they got boat raced by the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Derrick Henry went off for a 75, 80-yard touchdown run, whatever it was, the first play of the game on offense for the Ravens. And the Bills just could not really get anything going from there. But, we can kind of forgive that per type of performance because they're coming off back-to-back blowouts against the Dolphins and the Jags. Now, this is not me saying that the Dolphins and Jags are good. And look how impressive that blowout victory was. But at least if you could take care of competition and really just annihilate the bad teams, a letdown game was bound to happen for the Bills, especially coming off of a short week on Monday Night Football, traveling to Baltimore off of a short week. And I know this is an away game as well, but at least it's not the short week. And, after a bad game on Sunday night, it's not necessarily something that we expect to happen 2 weeks in a row. I mean, that was the first time in years that the Bills had lost, I think by 6 or more points was the exact stat. And, the Bills were first in DVOA heading into week 4. Now they've dropped. Now they're 5th, which is still really good, still top 5, but just kind of shows how good they were prior to that and then how bad they were on Sunday night. But 5th best offense, 9th best defense. They're one of 3 teams in the NFL with top 9, both offense and defense. And the Bills, starting 3-0, and the Texans now being 3-1. Again, I like to fade teams like the Texans that have these unimpressive victories week over week. Eventually that stuff comes back to bite them, and then you can finally start fixing your issues when you lose. So that's what we're expecting. Bills win. Bills money line, -104 odds at FanDuel. They're the only book that did not have the Bills as the favorite. So we are getting a decent play here, decent price on the Bills money line. But that's all we got. 3 early bets for you guys to lock in. Tomorrow, I'll post a player props video for Thursday Night Football. And then on either Thursday or Friday, I'll post my picks for Sunday. But if you want everything sent to you early, so you don't have to wait for the YouTube videos to drop, because I have an editor now that has her own life, so she edits them when she has time. You can sign up for my Dub Club. It's $5 a month. It's $5 a month, gets everything sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. Everything that I'm playing, the first thing I do is send it to Dub Club. So if you want to get plays in early, lock in these bets before the odds change, that's what you can do. If you don't always have time to watch the YouTube videos, but you still want to tail, that's what the Dub Club is for. But if you're cool with waiting, you can get everything for free on YouTube and on Twitter. No problems there. Just follow me. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at JediModi. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.